So we continue. I want you to look at your mind that I had described as segmented into two forms as a garden. The purpose of a garden is either to bring forth good food or what you cannot eat by way of tares or just any grass. But both for food, herbs, or for just anything, every garden that germinates has a seed planted. So I need you to see your mind as the garden, and for the seed that goes into that garden, I want you to picture your thoughts, the thoughts in your mind. Now, by talking of our thoughts, science has proven that you, me, the next man, has between 60,000 and 70,000 thoughts per day. Between 60 and 70,000 thoughts per day. So in that garden of our mind, the seed that we plant are our thoughts, as numerous as they are. So this seed, these between 60,000 and 70,000 thoughts, where do they come from? Where do our thoughts come from? Our thoughts come from our habitual thinking, what we receive from our environment, what we understand by what we see, by what we hear, and at times by what we say. In other words, our five senses, the collation, the harvesting of what our five senses gather, help us to formulate our thoughts. Whatever it is your thoughts dwell on, become the seed that goes in the garden of your mind. Now, one of the intractable laws of the universe is that what you plant is what you reap. For example, I have a garden in my house and I have planted pomegranate, I have planted oranges, I have planted mango. When it is time for me to harvest from the orange tree, I can only harvest oranges, not pomegranates, not mangoes, even though in the same garden I have all these three planted. The same thing for the other trees, meaning if I allow my thoughts to be positive, the outcome or the harvest of that garden of my mind will be positive, and contrariwise. Therefore, in the garden of your mind, we need to begin to understand that our thinking, the seed that goes into our mind, are of paramount importance. Every time in your mind, in my mind, in the mind of the next person, there will always be a confluence of both positive and negative thoughts. To ensure that the predominant thoughts in my mind, in your mind, are those that will bring forth good harvest from the garden of our mind, is to dwell on positive thoughts. Whatever things are pure, whatever things are good, whatever things are of a good report, whatever things are edifying, these are the things that we should dwell on. When you feed on quote and unquote acceptable culture, your mind will not but be assailed by negative ideas and thoughts. So, how do we effectively ensure that the seeds that we sow in the garden of our mind are positive? One way to do this effectively is to control what goes into your thoughts. It is not possible, if you live in the society that we live in, for you not to be assailed by things positive and negative at the same time. But you need to create that level of sensitivity in you that the moment something negative comes in, you crush it. It has to be deliberate. It has to be something you have attuned your mind to be sensitive to. For example, if you are in a gathering and people confess negative things, something in you must react and say, no, that is not for me. This is what I believe in. This is what I accept. But if you keep quiet and you allow negative things to be dumped into your mind, those are the things you will dwell on. You have the creative force, the potential force within you to accept what it is you accept and to refuse what it is you do not want. Now, nobody, dear friend, nobody will be the gatekeeper of your mind like yourself, which is why you need to limit access to the media that you feed on. I tell you what, until you consciously decide that certain information is not for your consumption, your mind will be a constant battlefield. Trust me honestly. You cannot shut yourself away from the world, but you can screen your mind from the world. That is the way to do it. It has to be a positive attitude, instantaneous screening. You heard something that is not true, not loving, not of good report, not edifying, immediately you reject it. Immediately you react to it, quote and unquote, violently. You do not allow it to sit. You do not allow it to rest. You come after it. Why? Because your mind, my mind, the mind of every human being is a battlefield of contending thoughts, positive and negative. So we have a duty, a responsibility on what we are allowed to dwell in our hearts.